Witnesses to the Israeli attack on Al-Shifa hospital claim that the allegedly killed Hamas fighters were innocent civilians. The Presidential Council of Haiti was formed on Thursday with 7 full members and 2 observers. And on Friday, the spokesman for the Russian president's office, Dmitry Peskov, reported that the country is in a state of war. Hello and welcome to From the South. I am Irma Shelton and from the TeleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. Israel's war crimes record rose exponentially. After besieging the largest hospital in Gaza, witnesses claim that the alleged Hamas fighters killed and kidnapped are innocent civilians. The Zionist Ministry of Defense report puts the number of the alleged Hamas militias killed in the Al-Shifa hospital complex at 150. The incursion has also hit civilians' neighborhoods, leaving dozens of people dead and wounded, mostly women and children. Several survivors of the Al-Shifa massacre claim that their relatives and co-workers were kidnapped and some were found dead after the occupier took them away. Elderly and women also report humiliating and degrading treatment. In Palestine, the raid on the Al-Shifa hospital in the Gaza Strip continues. About the situation of the area, our correspondent Nur Harasin brings us some details.
For the 4th consecutive day, the Israeli forces are still raiding the Al-Shifa hospital, and not only the hospital, but actually all the neighborhoods and the blocks surrounding the Al-Shifa hospital. We are talking about 70 residential homes that are filled with women and children, and this comes after the Israeli forces since day one arrested most of the men who are residing in the homes surrounding the Al-Shifa hospital. This morning there was this very important statement from the WHO talking about the situation in the hospital. In this statement, they mentioned that they lost all the connection with their team inside the Al-Shifa hospital since day one of this Israeli raid. They also said that the situation in and around the Al-Shifa hospital is very dangerous and unsafe. They also talked about how they planned an evacuation for the patients from the Al-Shifa hospital to happen today, actually. However, they did not manage to pursue it because of the very dangerous situation in and around the Al-Shifa hospital. And this shows how dangerous the situation is. As we are talking about the World Health Organization, the Red Cross, if these two parties are not available, are not able to help those civilians inside the Al-Shifa hospital, who and how those civilians will evacuate from the Al-Shifa hospital. Most of the reports that we are getting from the civilians and the eyewitnesses who are residing around the Al-Shifa hospital, that whoever tries to evacuate their home, they are being shot by the Israeli forces. There is many people who are dead in the streets. There are many people who are injured. Palestinians there are lost. They don't know actually what to do. They don't know what decision to take. If they stay at home, they could get killed by an Israeli shell, or they could die because of hunger, as this is the 5th day without any food or supplies. And if they left their homes, they could be shot by the Israeli forces. According to the Palestinian Health Ministry, 102 Palestinians were killed in Gaza over the past hours, and this brought up the death toll now in Gaza to more than 32,000 Palestinians killed. Adding the number of 10,000 of those who are missing, we are actually talking about 42,000 Palestinians who were either killed or missing since the 7th of October, and this is less than 6 months of Israeli offensive on the coastal enclave. Nur Harazin, TeleSUR, Gaza.
The head of the United States diplomacy, Anthony Blinken, is in Saudi Arabia, and from there he announced on Thursday that his country submitted a draft resolution for an immediate ceasefire linked to the release of hostages to the United Nations Security Council. From Qatar, where he began his Middle East tour, he landed in Riyadh. There, he met the Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, who is also Prime Minister, and his Ministers of Foreign Affairs, Faisal bin Farhan. Along the way, the Secretary of State expressed optimism about the approaching ceasefire. The proposal must be put to a vote, assured the head of diplomacy and a press conference. This is the fourth one Washington has produced because all the previous ones were rejected. In Iran, President Ibrahim Raisi celebrates the Persian New Year, assuring that the economy of the country will advance and be prosperous. The head of state assured that it would be a year of economic prosperity and improvement in the population well-being. Raisi later shared numbers about the economic development of the country.
For 3 consecutive years, the country has seen growth of more than 4%, while average economic growth in the last decade was less than 1%. Some have claimed that 3-digit inflation is looming, but statistics indicate that inflation from one point to one point where inflation reaches 35% from about 55%, overall inflation will be around 40%.
Now let's take the first break, but remember, you can join us on TikTok at the TeleSUR English, where you will find news and different formats, news updates, and more. Other stories coming up. Stay with us. Welcome back to From the House. The Presidential Council of Haiti was formed on Thursday with 7 full members and 2 observers. Its fundamental mission will be to appoint a new prime minister and facilitate the electoral process. The list of those who will form part of the Haitian Presidential Council is now complete, and the names of its 7 members and 2 observers were known on Thursday, after almost 2 weeks of discussions and internal conflicts in the various groups, political sectors, and social organizations involved in its designation. In the last 48 hours, several names have changed, representatives have been removed, and new personalities have emerged in the political scene as key figures in the Transitional Council, after whose implementation the Haitian Prime Minister Ariel Henry will resign. In Venezuela, the National Assembly has approved the draft organic law for the defense of the Guyana Essequiba during the second discussion. During the session, the deputies highlights the content of the legal document that claims the sovereign defense of the Venezuelan territory. During his presentation, Deputy Diosdado Cabello explained the journey that involved the territorial defense and the controversy with the arbitration award and a popular consultation. Cabello emphasized that the approval of the defense law by Guyana Essequiba complies with the mandate dictated by the people last December 8 in a consultative referendum.
As of January 9, the approval of the first articles began. It was a very broad consultation throughout the national territory. All states of Venezuela participated for a total of more than 200 consultations throughout the country. opinions, observations, and recommendations were gathered from the different sectors, a law that I believe complies perfectly with the spirit approved by the sovereign people in the referendum on the issue of the Guyana Esquiva, which I would like to remind you had 5 questions.
Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva presented a plan with racial equality policies in the administrative district of Ceilândia to improve the living conditions of the black population in the country. The head of state present the Living Black Jews initiative promoted mainly by the Ministry of Racial Equality and the General Secretariat of the Presidency. The documents present a list 43 goals and 217 concrete measures agreed with the different ministries to reduce the lethality and vulnerability that plague the young black population. During his speech, the Brazilian head of state urged young blacks to work for their dreams and to fight for their convictions without forgetting their roots and their families. And from Cuba, the ex-account of the presidency announced the birth of a new space for communication, which will be hosted by the President Miguel Díaz-Canel Bermúdez to address the country's news and issues. From the presidency is the name given to the YouTube channel, and in its first episode, the head of state commented on the events of last Sunday, March 17, when citizens from some localities of the country took to the streets to protest against the long blackouts and delays in the delivery of the standard family basket. Far-right-wing news media and United States politicians took advantage on these events to motivate a social outbreak on the island. Alongside the Minister of Energy, Vicente de la Olevi, Díaz-Canel analyzed the current energy situation in the country and the prospects for a short and medium-term solution. In this context, Cuban President Miguel Díaz-Canel Bermúdez visited Thursday several communities and places of the economic interest in the eastern provinces of Guantánamo and Santiago de Cuba. Hundreds of people lined the streets of the communities to give a warm and massive welcome to the Cuban president, who stopped to shake hands and talk with its residents. Last Sunday, some localities of the area were the focus of demonstrations due to power cuts and instability in the food basket. The president's tours began on Thursday morning and include also productive centers where he encouraged its workers to do their best and remain united in defense of the homeland. And we have a final short break coming up. But before, we invite you to join our WhatsApp community for our English-speaking audience. You can scan the QR code on screen to join directly and share the link to reach more people. Constant news coverage in Latin America and the Caribbean, as well as the rest of the world. Stay connected and informed with TeleSUR. Final short break. Don't go away. Welcome back to From the House. On Friday, the spokesman for the offices of Russian President Vladimir Putin informed that the country is in a state of war. Dmitry Peskov said that the country had indeed launched a special military operation, but the direct intervention of the West in the conflict supporting Ukraine has turned into a war. The presidential spokesman said in a statement to a national media that the aim is to ensure the safety of the residents of the 4 new regions and to liberate the territory occupied momentarily by the Ukrainian troops. At the same time, Peskov reiterated that Russia cannot allow states that said its intention to use any methods to take away Crimea and the new regions to exist near its border. Last week, Russian President Vladimir Putin stated that the possibility of a full-scale conflict between Russia and NATO is the future, cannot be ruled out, but in such a case, the world would be one step away from World War III, something no one is interested in. Attorney Barry Pollack, who belongs to the legal team representing WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange, said Wednesday that his legal team sees no signs of resolving United States charge against Assange following the publication of a Wall Street Journal report on exploring a guilty plea. The journal reports that the United States Justice Department is considering whether to allow Assange to plead guilty to a reduced charge of mishandling classified information. A Justice Department spokesman declined to comment on the report. The Wall Street Journal said that in recent months, Justice Department officials and Assange legal team have had preliminary talks about a plea deal, but that the discussions remain uncertain and talks could fall apart. Assange is fighting extradition from Britain to the United States. In Portugal, President Marcelo Rebelo de Sousa confirmed Luis Montenegro as Prime Minister. The announcement is the result of the round of hearings with political parties and coalitions that represented the elections, also strengthened the decision recognition of Pedro Nuno, leader of the Socialist Party, that he will be the head of the opposition as confirmed by the presidential office. The president received hours earlier the right and center-right coalitions that support the candidacy of Luis Montenegro, who have presented a sketch of the composition of the government. And we have come to the end of this news brief. You can find these and many other stories on our website at TeleSURenglish.net. And join us on social media, Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For TeleSUR English, I am Irma Scholten. Thank you for watching us.